If you're a Marvel fan, you've seen your fair share of artifacts, relics, and mystic objects, all of which can be ancient, powerful, and dangerously lethal. We're going over the ones we've seen so far and delving deep into what makes them so special. Infinity Stones. These ancient, reality-bending stones were the central plot of the Infinity Saga, and for a good reason. There are 6 of them: the Space, Reality, Power, Mind, Time, and Soul Stone. Each represents a different aspect of the universe, and when the 6 are together, damn, they're sure capable of reshaping the cosmos itself. We've usually seen them housed in artifacts to harness their power. Now, take the Space Stone, for example, right? How does Loki use it to bring his Chitauri army over to Earth? Through the Tesseract. Similarly, we have the Eye of Agamotto. This thing was literally created by the first Sorcerer Supreme for the sole purpose of containing the Time Stone. It lets the user manipulate time in almost every way, whether that's de-aging something, making it older, rewinding destruction, bringing back the dead, or even creating a permanent time loop. Sucks to be you, Dormammu. Some of the stones were used with weapons in order to harness their power. The Celestial Isan, for example, channeled the ability of the Power Stone through his staff. This stone enhances your power to the absolute extreme, and it allows Isan to wipe out a planet effortlessly. Loki's scepter also housed the Mind Stone, which is pretty unique because it lets you control the hearts and minds of others. Just being around the scepter was enough to negatively influence the Avengers. The team took it a step further by placing the stone inside Vision. By doing that, they basically created a whole new guy, except he's also one of the smartest beings on the planet. We've also seen a stone take on an entirely different shape. The Reality Stone was liquefied into the ether. It was possessed by the Dark Elves of Svartalfheim, and later, the ether was absorbed into Jane Foster. Its powers are completely busted, given that Malekith was going to use it to revert the universe to its previous state of complete darkness. Lastly, we have the Soul Stone, which is honestly the most mysterious of the bunch. It's hidden on Vormir, and to gain it, you gotta give up something very precious. For Thanos, this was Gamora. The stone's powers are strange, to say the least. It lets you glimpse into the souls of people, as well as giving the user access to the soul world. This is some kind of abstract dimension that lets people encounter the dead. Whether they're actually the deceased person or just a spiritual representation is anyone's guess. But Thanos was able to meet Gamora here. The most interesting thing is that these stones have a will of their own. The Mind Stone was able to compel and influence Loki. The Soul Stone placed a test on potential users before it let them wield it. The Space Stone cursed Red Skull and sent him to Vormir. That's not the end of it. They can't just be picked up and used either. Otherwise, you'll probably die from the recoil. They all emit an incredible amount of gamma radiation, which is why only the Hulk was able to use it.
It's like, I was made for this.
Even then, users need something that can contain and channel their power. For the Avengers, this was the Nano Gauntlet, modeled after Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, which was created by Eitri, a dwarven blacksmith from Nidavellir. When put together, the most ridiculous display of power we've seen from them is destroying half of all life in the universe. They're one of the most overpowered artifacts in all of Marvel history, and have been the central plot device of dozens, if not hundreds, of comics and shows. 10 rings. Probably one of the most wildest accessories in the entire MCU, the 10 rings are a set of, well, 10 iron rings that grant their user an entire arsenal of mystical powers. We don't know where they came from or who made them. Even Hulk and Carol Danvers had zero idea as to what they were. In the comics, though, they were created by an advanced race of lizard people called the Maklemans. These guys trapped the souls of their legendary dead warriors within the rings. What we do know about them from Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings is that Xu Wenwu discovered them thousands of years ago, using their power to create the 10 Rings organization and conquer multiple kingdoms throughout history. Some of you may have noticed it if you were paying attention.
Recent violence has been attributed to a group of foreign fighters referred to by locals as the 10 Rings.
And it makes sense when you think about what these rings can do. Enhanced strength, barriers that deflect mostly anything, firing off energy blasts, and so much more. Shang-Chi even wore them on his legs to enhance the strength of his kicks. They also stop the user's aging. This is how Wenwu was able to live for over 1,000 years. As cool as they sound, they don't make you invincible. Users can still die to mortal wounds and even be defeated in battle. Wenwu did lose to Yingli after all. All in all, though, they're really good weapons to have on your side, seeing as how they enabled Wenwu to dominate Asia for 1,000 years. Sling rings. These little rings are one of the most convenient ways of getting around the multiverse. Usable by the students of the mystic arts, sling rings allow the user to create temporary portals to wherever they wish to go. All you have to do is just think really hard, visualize, and focus. They're not exclusive to practitioners of the mystic arts, though. Civilians like Ned Leeds are able to use them if they perform the correct motion. It's not normal for them to be able to use it, though, in most cases, you need to be at least a student in order to use the ring properly. The scale of their teleporting abilities is where it really gets interesting. The biggest feat we've seen from the sling rings is that timeless scene from Endgame. You know, when the Avengers assemble, they're also pretty good in combat.
Avengers! Assemble.
Doctor Strange created small portals for Star-Lord and Spider-Man so they could get openings on Thanos during the Battle of Titan, not that it mattered much. But hey, if it were anyone except Thanos, this would probably be a foolproof strategy.
Boom!
Fun fact, they're actually completely original to the MCU. These rings don't exist in the comics. Cloak of Levitation. The Masters have a lot more than just sling rings. The Cloak of Levitation is a powerful relic that grants its user the ability to fly and levitate. But the trick is that it chooses its own master. It's a sentient thing. The cloak provides a lot of favors to its chosen one. It even helps in battle and actively aids its master. Before Doctor Strange, the cloak hadn't chosen anyone in a long while. We've seen it do more than just protect its master. On one occasion, it even felt bad for Steven. Wand of Watoomb. Let's get into some of the offensive artifacts of the Masters. This mystical wand was used by Wong during Caecilius' attack on the Hong Kong Sanctum. The weapon has horned heads on each side, which tend to glow when it's active. The wand lets the user absorb any energy that comes its way, allowing the user to redirect it or even amplify it before sending it back. As far as ancient sticks go, this one's pretty useful. We don't see much more of it in the movie, but it's based on the wicked wands of Watoomb from the comics, which can even heal the user or form a defensive barrier around them. The Book of Cagliostro. Their library is just as powerful as their armory. Among the many books in the Ancient One's private collection, the Book of Cagliostro contains information on manipulating time and a method for contacting Dormammu. Caecilius had used it to summon power from the Dark Dimension, while Strange had used it to mess around with the Eye of Agamotto. From the little we've seen of the book, it's packed full of dangerous info. However, the reason it's probably in the Ancient One's possession is that it details how she had been using power from the Dark Dimension to extend her life. The Book of Vishanti. So, if you've ever heard of the Darkhold, then you might know it's all about corruptive chaos magic. Well, this book is the opposite of that. It's supposed to give its user anything they need to resist the magic of the Darkhold and overcome it. The thing is, it's hidden too well. The Book of Vishanti was unreachable for the longest time because it was tucked away within the gap junction, the space between universes. Unfortunately, before we get to see it in action, Scarlet Witch had burned the book to ashes, fearing its power. What we do know is that Earth 838's Strange had used the book to defeat Thanos, which is at least a statement about its capabilities. In the comics, it's a book written by the Vishanti gods, and it contains incredibly powerful light magic, which can be used as a direct counter to dark magic, as well as an endless number of pages. Darkhold. The Book of Spells, or the Book of Sins. As far as ancient tomes go, this is the most taboo of them all. In the comics, it contains ancient and powerful dark magic spells based on the transcriptions made by Ichtan, the first demon. It doesn't just contain magic, though. It also has a prophecy, particularly about Wanda.
Did you know there's an entire chapter devoted to you in the Darkhold?
It's a very manipulative thing. It'll appear to you in your native language, since Lucy Bauer could read it in English and Joseph Bauer could read it in German. It'll provide seemingly infinite knowledge, too. Joseph couldn't have made the quantum particle generator without it. Wanda gets obsessed with finding a universe where she could be with her twin sons again. This leads to her being obsessed with using America Chavez's powers, and to hunt her down, she uses dream walking, a spell that corrupts the user. She's not the only one to use it. Over the course of history, many people have sought the Darkhold, including S.H.I.E.L.D., Agatha Harkness, and even Doctor Strange. Our Steven, from the Earth 616 timeline, used it briefly to dreamwalk into the corpse of Defender Strange, whose body he then used to battle Wanda Maximoff. Yes, by the way, this is fully necromancy. Doing this, however, triggered an incursion and caused Strange to gain a third eye. If you're not sure what those are, think of them as two realities collapsing on each other. But what would happen if he used it more than that? Well, that's where you get Sinister Strange. This variant of the Good Doctor was obsessed with ending up with Christine Palmer and, corrupted by the Darkhold, kept dreamwalking into different universes looking for exactly that.
It's a heavy toll.
I don't mean to be callous, but how much of a heavier toll is there left to exact?
Not just on its reality, on its reader.
He caused an incursion that nearly wiped out his universe, leaving him as the last person alive. Similarly, Supreme Strange from Earth 838 also caused an incursion by looking for a way to beat Thanos through dreamwalking, leading to his eventual execution.
The world needs heroes. We made the difficult choice because we knew what our Strange was capable of. What perhaps every Doctor Strange is capable of.
It's almost like it's a simple rule: don't dreamwalk, like ever. We see the Darkhold taking advantage of people's pain with Wanda too. The corruption it forced on her was one of the key plot points of Multiverse of Madness, because it played on her grief of losing her family. Towards the end, she breaks out of the book's hold and destroys the original Darkhold and all its copies across the multiverse. Staff of the Living Tribunal. You've probably heard the name the Living Tribunal being thrown around before. Well, that guy is one of the most powerful cosmic entities in Marvel, so you would think his staff is some super overpowered weapon, right? Not really. What we see in the MCU of the staff is just the brief instances Carl Mondo uses it.
Of the Living Tribunal.
The weapon looks more like a baton in its natural state, but by pulling both ends together, it can be extended into a quarterstaff. Mondo can use the energy the staff creates as a whip or shape it accordingly. Unfortunately, that's about it as far as its powers go. Do you think it'd be more powerful in the hands of an elite sorcerer like Strange or someone like Wanda? Casket of Winters. Used by the frost giants of Jotunheim, this cold blue box is capable of producing an infinite icy wind that can literally freeze entire landscapes or send a world into an ice age. After that little showcase, Odin had fought and defeated Laufey and his frost giants in battle. One of the spoils of war he took home was this casket. Was adopting the dude's son not enough? The casket is truly capable of freezing anything, though. Loki even used it to freeze the Bifrost and Heimdall solid. Despite this, Hela is pretty disinterested in the thing. Speaking of Loki, it also reacted to his frost giant heritage. The magic in the casket was able to dispel Loki's Asgardian appearance, showing him what he really looked like. Eternal Flame. This never-ending blaze was a mystical fire linked to Surtur, king of Muspelheim. It was Surtur's source of power. At some point, during a battle with Odin, the All-Father stripped him of it and kept it within Odin's vault, guarded by the Destroyer. It went centuries without being used, until Hela revived her entire army of dead berserkers with it. After that, Loki used it to revive Surtur so that he could fulfill his childhood dream of absolutely nuking Asgard, because someone needed to stop Hela. Thing is, it didn't just revive Surtur, it amped him up significantly. After he was brought back by Loki, he was much bigger and stronger than when he fought Thor. All Black, the Necrosword. Ever wonder about that evil blade Gore keeps swinging around? That's the Necrosword, and its entire thing is killing gods. The blade was forged at the dawn of time and was imbued with its god-slaying capabilities. But it has a secret to it. The Necrosword, much like the Darkhold, corrupts its wielder and has a will of its own. It was able to influence Gore into killing Rapu, who killed its previous wielder, the Dark Shadow Lord.
This is my vow. All gods will die.
The Necrosword was able to communicate with Gore through a vision of the Gates of Eternity, inspiring him to go on a crusade against the gods. Basically, it turned him into Kratos. Of course, to kill a god, you need more than just a special blade. The Necrosword also enhances the user's physical capabilities to superhuman levels, so it gives them the strength and speed they need to go toe-to-toe with a god. It was eventually destroyed by Mighty Thor, but here's the kicker. When destroyed, the sword tries to piece itself back together. It wasn't until Mighty Thor shattered even those pieces that the sword was actually destroyed, and its hold on Gore had ended. Heart-shaped herb. Relics come in all shapes, including plants. The heart-shaped herb is a magical artifact that allows the user to gain the power of the Black Panther. Throughout the generations, every panther has had to eat this thing. Once ingested, it takes the user to the ancestral plane, where they get the whole toolkit. You know, super strength, speed, agility, all the works. It also lets you communicate with the dead in the ancestral plane. Imagine Aang talking to all the past avatars. Kevin Feige did note that the herb itself isn't magic, and its power comes from the vibranium that resided within the soil and land for thousands of years. It's more spiritual than it is mythical. From swords, magic books, and grimoires, to plants and rings, Marvel has a pretty versatile range of relics, and some of these are downright nasty in the wrong hands. No, we didn't cover every single one, but comment below for what you would like to see in Part 2.